Episode 3. First Blood Omen. Part 1. Dawn came in iron and steam. Chen, we met in the bright room before the sun had decided on a color. Iron square on the table, brass ring on the floor. Tobogo in a padded crate marked person in orange and not food in Boosie's ugly chalk. Nurse Nandi set Impefo to smolder. Miss Hadebe unrolled a strip of limestone. Mr. Methethwa stood with the stopwatch. Kumalo watched like a doorframe. Witness ring, Kumalo said. 4 corners took their places. Sun Mthethwa. Moon Thandi for practice with Musa glowering. Water Sifo. Earth Boosie. 5th point witness. That was me whether I wanted it or not. Kwanda stayed on the wall. Palms open, mug size ready. Not invited to the circle and never needing an invitation to a rescue. Open the crate, Kumalo said. Boosie lifted the lid like it might breathe. It did. The tomato rolled in its towel. The chalk word person pulsed once like a memory. Nandi whispered the practical parts. No knives, no heat, no jokes. Ready? Kumalo asked. Ready, we answered. Boosie chalked a ring round the crate. Sifo fanned smoke low. Thandi placed 2 fingers on the breaker box they'd brought in and lowered the hum without a song. The air knew its job. Methethwa clicked the watch. Begin, he said. Names are blankets, but some blankets have thorns. I set my jaw on the iron string and looked at the red skin that wanted to be a lie again. Not tomato, I told it. Not food, come back. The room tipped a finger width, the safe amount. The chalk words soaked. The fruit winced like a person stubbing a toe. The crate thumped once, a heart under a floorboard, and stilled. Again, Kumalo said. Not food, I said. Tobogo. The red blurred, not shape meaning. A handprint appeared in condensation on the crate's inside lid as if a boy had just exhaled on a bus window to draw a heart and remembered he didn't believe in hearts anymore. Musa hissed. That's not procedure. Shut up, Thandi whispered. Too soft for the room, loud enough for me. The crate twitched. The red shivered. A string, thin as a hair wrong, pulled across the towel like a crack that knows your name. Boosie saw it first. Tamper, she said, flat. She crushed limestone between her fingers and dusted the thread. The dust stuck. The thread smiled back the way a snake's back might if snakes liked paperwork. Where did that come from? Musa demanded, already writing tamper? Like a man who wants a villain he can put on a form. The door, Kwanda said. Eyes on the table leg, the hinge, the empty air. He doesn't guess. He finds. Miss Hadeby took a bone-handled shears from her pocket. Earth carries tools that know what matters, and snipped the air inside the limestone dust line. The thread pinged, a sound like a gnat laughing, and snapped. Nandi's smoke chased the taste of it out of the room. Again, Kumalo said, as if the room hadn't tried to make us perform. Gentle Mthembu. Not food, I told the red. Not story. Tobogo is here. The fruit sighed. It went soft in the resigned way a shoulder goes soft under a warm hand. In the towel, where red had been, there was a boy curled up small, naked as a newborn and swearing with gratitude. Sifo wrapped him. Boosie cried exactly once because earth when it breaks like a building. Then it stands. Kumalo laid a towel over Tobogo's shoulder like a banner and nodded once. Ring reset complete. No press. You two. She pointed to the stupidly helpful couple, the sun boy and moon girl. Service shifts, bracelets every night for a month, and a class with Nurse Nandi called What a Knife Means. That. They nodded like criminals learning their names. Kumalo looked at the crate lid. Who tampered? She asked. The dust on the table leg lifted itself like a cat that has already given an alibi. The room didn't give us a name. It never does. The first time. Musa circled tamper twice like ink can bite. Kwanda glanced at me and at my throat like he could hear the iron string purr. Warn the ring before you unname, he said, not unkind for once. I did, I said. You will forget, he said. And then will be interesting. I wanted to say, there are other words besides warn. I didn't. I breathed and let the iron relax against my skin. By second period, the cat had a registry tag and a soft crate by the office. Zizi groomed herself like a queen jailed politely. The whole school lined up to show mercy with 2 fingers and a cooing noise. Mercy is cheaper in daylight. Someone opened a window. We were halfway through lunch when the register bell did the morph 2 short, 1 long from the roofline. Zizi, Boosie said, already moving. We ran skyward. The real roof is not the picture's roof. It's gravel, exhaust stacks, and a line of guttering that holds the history of storms. Zizi was 3 inches from the edge, pupils coins, ears flat, a sound in her throat that had more human in it than is fair for a cat. Window, Kumalo said behind us, voice like knives in slippers. Someone propped it, Thandi said, staring at the wedge brick like it had killed a child. The wind did what wind does when it knows drama is free. Don't grab, Boosie said, dropping to her knees and leaving a line of stone dust in front of the cat, a little white fence that minded its business. She'll go. Smoke, Sifo said, tiny, just enough to make the world 1 degree softer. Zizi blinked. Outside? Thandi breathed. No, I said. If I put sky under a cat, the cat will forget gravity entirely and step into a prayer. Kwanda set his palm flat to gravel and spread his fingers like a man measuring the size of a lie. Mug, he said, not over the cat. Next to her, a bowl of stay big enough for 1 paw. Cats are terrible with no. They are good with maybe. Zizi stepped into the hold with 1 paw and found that the air was a plate that didn't break. She put the other paw down. Kwanda widened the hold a palm width, slow, making a path the width of a cat's courage. Sifo's smoke nudged the body, not the mind. Boosie's chalk fence kept the wind honest. Thandi killed the nearest panel hum so the horizon didn't hum back a dare. Here, love, Boosie said, voice a blanket. Come home. Zizi came along the invisible saucer until she was 4 inches from safety, and then attempted to leap past us to the gutter because cats are all pride and questions. I put outside, not under her, not over, around the gutter mouth for 10 counts. For 10 heartbeats, the gutter was not a mouth, but a picture of 1, and pictures don't swallow. The cat leapt, met picture, remembered she was a mammal, and let Boosie's hands be the floor. We sat down hard. The siren shut up. Kumalo picked up the window brick and weighed it in her palm like a lost tooth. Find out who left this, she said to no one and to everyone. Naledi was there on the far side of the roofline, hair perfect, breath not even, eyes cool. She met my eye and then looked at the brick in Kumalo's hand, and smiled with the kind of politeness you reserve for funerals. I was in a tutorial, she said to the wind. And windows open themselves, Boosie said. Some do, Naledi said, and went downstairs without being dismissed. Kumalo put the brick in a bag like evidence because it was. Defense after the roof. Cones, brass ring. We were all still winded. Miss Hadabe wrote small on the paving with her shoe. Nthembu, she said. Edge and stop. I picked a cone. I put my mouth around cone and not around boy and pushed. The cone skidded true. Naledi, Miss Hadabe said. Edge and stop. Naledi chose me. Cone, she said out loud, eyes on mine. She pushed small and clean and then tickled the edge because she hates not being loved. The push caught the loose thread in my jaw and folded toward my collarbone like a ribbon that wants a throat. It wasn't big. It was mean. I shouldn't have answered it. I answered. I pushed back to the edge of the cone, right on the line where a room learns it can be taught manners. The paving dipped. Naletti's ankle, a bruise's twin, twisted as she compensated for a fault that didn't exist before I introduced it to existence. She hissed between teeth and didn't cry because queens don't. Bench, Miss Hadabe said without heat. Both of you. Musa's pen scratched. Esona endangering peers again. Thandi glared at him as if his pen were a locust. At the water table, Naledi stood 3 feet from me and chose to speak to the space over my shoulder. You're messy, she said. He likes them messy. I am not anything he likes, I said. She laughed once, not unpretty. Please, he'll like you when it ruins someone. Like he ruined you? Thandi said, appearing with cups and fire. Naledi's smile didn't move. She picked up the brass ring without permission and set it gently back down, as if proving that a queen could be delicate with tools if she felt like it. You think I'm your villain, she said. The villain is the boy who thinks some girls are practice and some are stories, and the girl who refuses to admit she is already being written. Put the ring down, Miss Hadabe said from behind us, not loudly. Naledi did. Observation, she said, and walked away like a verdict. I faced the cone. I did small. My jaw ached from not trying to be a door. Across the court, Kwanda watched the way hawks watch sports days. When the cone stayed a cone, he gave me nothing. No nod, no mouth twitch. I hated that my body wanted a prize it knew not to ask for. Between last bell and supper, the morph siren chirped 3 times, the new code for tamper. We ran. The crate room smelled like smoke and old cardboard. Tobogo sat on a bench with a blanket, dazed, human, crying quietly into his hands in the honest way boys do when their bodies remember being fruit. On the shelf where the crate had been, a string lay like a hair you can't unsee. Stone dust ringed it. Boosie's shivers had not entirely stopped. Somebody tried to retie him, Nurse Nandi said, jaw tight. Found this under the towel. Who? Musa asked, intoxicated by the usefulness of his own question. Kumalo didn't guess. She pointed at the window latches. Earth checked them and found one that wanted to be open and wasn't. String came through a mouth we didn't see, Boosie said. We will see it next time. Kwanda's mouth did not move, but his eyes had that look that says my father like a private surname. He didn't say it where the room could hear. Kumalo wrote 1 line on the board with a thick pen you could see from anywhere. Tamper attempt, failed, strings cut, windows latched, witness at all crates. If you see a line that wasn't there, do not touch it. Fetch earth or water. The sentence tasted like someone had put a padlock on a bedtime story and thrown the key in the river. Good. Supper tried to be food again. Posters outside the kitchen. The tomato rule, no knives without person. Kids tick the box even when cutting bread. Fear is thorough. Naledi sat with a boy I didn't know. Sun shoulders, cheap watch. She laughed at a joke I couldn't hear, leaned into it, let the room see that laughter looks good on her. She reached her hand under the table and flicked the boy's bracelet bead with 1 nail. It glowed yellow, and she let it. Didn't pull away, then smiled wider and moved her hand an inch so the glow cooled. Playing. Older than me, understanding all the old games, teaching me which pieces she thinks are mine. Boosie caught me watching. Don't learn their sport, she said. We play tools. Some of us are tools, Thandi said, gleeful. Sifo set 4 mugs down, and the steam made a heart against the light, because steam loves hearts. We drank. The day did not fall off us. We had to peel it. At lights out, the corridor didn't laugh. It listened. Chairs sat in doorways. Bracelets didn't nip because the people who needed nipping had learned to count to 2 and step away at 1. On my pillow sat a matchbox I did not put there. I opened it like a person peering into a stranger's mouth. Inside, a green bead, river bright, and a scrap of lined paper torn from a school notebook. "I, open," it said, in a hand I didn't know, and a voice I did. The ledger, borrowing boys again, borrowing men. I put the box on the top shelf where lies go to feel expensive. I left the chair in my doorway and slept with my face to the corridor because I have learned to love being boring the way some people love being beautiful. At 2:11, the window thought about being a mouth. It did not succeed. Limestone powder in the latch coughed a tiny white cough and settled. Outside, the night rearranged itself to make room for a wind that smelled like river and string. "Not tonight," I told it without moving my mouth. "Tonight we keep cats alive and teach gutters manners." The night took the boundary and lay down on the right side of it. Part 2. By mid-morning, the school smelled like disinfectant and boiled nerves. Zizi slept in her crate, collar bright, tail twitching at dreams that remembered ladders. Tobogo sat on the bench in a hoodie 2 sizes big, drinking rooibos like a sacrament. He said thank you to each of us in the way shy boys say it. Eyes on shoes, mouth on truth. Musa chose that as his hour. He called a rules council in the staff room and filled a whiteboard with sentences that looked like fences. Motion: place Esona and Mthembu on extended observation only. No field duties. No bright room witness. Drills supervised from gallery. Rationale: repeated near folds. Unnaming outside ring. Increased morph incidence near her presence. Unknown classification. He capped the marker like law had a lid. Kumalo sat with her hands around a mug. She didn't look at me when she said, "Arguments." Busi: when a room listens to Esona, it behaves. Sifo: she warns the ring, she will warn more. Thandi: if you bench the one person who can unname food, you'll be burying people. Musa: we have procedures. We don't have to make her a procedure. Kwanda: keep her on. Make the rule she doesn't go outside without a ring and a sun. All the heads turned at that last. He didn't flinch. Kumalo lifted a finger. Decision: no to full sidelining, yes to conditions. Mthembu does nothing without a ring and without warn first. Zulu is assigned containing partner for high-risk drills. She looked at both of us. You don't have to like it. You do have to be boring about it. Yes, ma'am, we said, not looking at each other. Musa wrote conditional like it tasted of defeat. He underlined warn 3 times as if ink can force memory. The kitchen carried on being a church that fed its gods 3 times a day. Posters were up properly now. Ray, the tomato rule. Moonscan produce before knives. Chalk person? On every board. No slicing without a tick. If it looks wrong, it is. The lunch rush ran like weather until it didn't. Compost time. 2 kitchen staff tipped peelings and bread heels and onion skins into the green bin in the yard. A person tag sat tidy on a tomato at the sideboard. Chalk square neat. Ticked. Busi frowned. That's my handwriting, she said. It was, but she hadn't chalked it. In the same breath, a second worker raised a smaller caddy, and the mush slid toward the bin's mouth. On top, an apple too perfect, skin tight as pride, turning itself so no one would see the tiny bracelet nip ringed faintly under the stem. The small things in the bin shifted around it like minnows around a shark. Person? Thandi yelled. The caddy tipped anyway. The apple slid toward the blade. The bin motor woke with a friendly growl. The kitchen auntie screamed, "Hi-bo, man," and snatched for the switch. I put outside inside the bin. Only the mouth, only the blades. 10 counts. The motor growled at picture teeth and bit nothing. Kwanda's palm bowled the lid with a mug hold so it wouldn't slam a staff wrist. Thandi killed the outlet with a hard downflip. Sifo went arms deep, sleeves soaked, and caught the apple in a towel like a midwife catching a child who had chosen the wrong door. Boosie slapped an iron ring on the bin lid and chalked. Not a mouth big enough to shame a god. She grabbed the tomato with the forged tag, scrubbed the chalk off with her sleeve until red skin was red skin, and held it up like a lie with a face. Someone switched tags, she said. That was a kill. The kitchen auntie put a hand on her chest and then used the same hand to smack the bin as if a machine can learn manners from pain. How, she said, to all of us, and to the apple. How, baby? Sifo slid the apple into a crate. Boozy chalked person fast and ugly. I did not unname. Kumalo arrived, looked once at the forged neat chalk on the tomato, and put the tomato into the person crate too, just in case. We'll scan, she said. We'll ring reset if we must. We don't roll dice in my kitchen. Naledi stood at the far end of the yard. Black hair perfect, uniform neat, eyes on her phone like the world was an essay she'd already memorized. She glanced up when Kumalo lifted the fake tag and didn't blink. Who wrote that? Sifo asked Boosie, soft. Me, Boosie said, face hard. On a different board, someone moved it. There are crimes and there are cruelties. This was the second. Kumalo wrote 2 new rules on the door in permanent marker. Tags don't travel. Chalk where the knife will land, not on display. If you find a tag alone, it's a trap. She added a third after a beat. If you move a tag to kill, you will be done at this school. Musa took a photo of the forged chalk and the real chalk, and then took none of the people because sometimes he remembers which side he's on. At 15 o'clock, the screening orientation for the paid practicum. Not the real thing, the slow talk before it. Bright room, iron on the table, brass ring, ledger on the shelf like a book that minds its manners if adults are in the room. The clerk did the deadpan. You're here because you have something the building obeys. You'll get a stipend because the building is a liar and should pay you to tell the truth back to it. He handed us a thin packet with headers only. Scope. Witness ring drills. Do not touch 7B. Do not narrate. Warn before outside. Sun mug only. Kwanda skimmed without moving his eyes much. No heroics, he said, like the words belonged to his mouth. Correct, the clerk said. You are boring. You will be remembered for your boredom. He demonstrated how to call a halt without panicking a room. He pointed to the corner where the camera sat face down. Their chairs. Devices are not mouths. If the room tries to put a lens in your hand, you put it face down. He made us practice. My jaw on the iron string, his worn. Kwanda's mug hold counted slow. We said the words in chorus like kids do the Lord's Prayer when they only halfway believe but know better than to make a joke of it. Leaving, Kwanda paused with me under the lintel. If you forget to warn, I will pull you back by your collar, he said. If you touch me without asking, I will put your ribs outdoors, I said. He almost smiled. Ask, he said. Ask, I agreed, hating that my mouth agreed faster than my head. At 17:20, the roof siren went. 2 short, 1 long, and the note under it that means fall. We ran like we knew how stairs work. The sky was a pale bruise. Wind at the edge of being a storm. 2 kids at the ledge. A sun boy, a moon boy. Bracelets on both. Yellow glow on both. The whole situation smelled like sex and bad timing. Back, Kumalo said low, and the crowd obeyed because grief likes audiences and she doesn't. What's the morph? Boosie asked the air. Glass, Thandi said, staring at the drainage gutter where something clear and wrong trembled. The moon boy's hands shook. We only the yellow. We thought it was... He couldn't finish. Then, on the parapet, next to a cheap energy drink can, stood a glass bottle that hadn't been there when we were born. It shivered with small memory. It took a little step because bottles will roll if you ask them badly enough. Mug under, Kwanda said, and slid his palm out over the drop bowl of stay precise. If the bottle fell, it would fall slow into a hand made of air. Don't unname, Kumalo said to me without looking. We don't play word games at an edge. Copy, I said. The wind chose that moment to be petty. It tipped the bottle. It skittered into the mug and sat. It looked safe. Then the sun boy lunged past Kumalo, snot and terror. Tommy! Like a prayer, and his elbow hit Kwanda's wrist. The mug wobbled. The bottle tipped out of the hold, went over the lip, hit the cement lip below, and shattered. There is a silence some schools carry forever. Ours found it. We stared down at the courtyard where glass became sand, became nothing. If Tommy had been animal, we could have tagged, collared, chased. If object intact, we could have crated, unnamed, wrung. Glass that breaks is gone. The moon boy made a noise like a chair with a broken leg. The sun boy folded in half and vomited on his shoes. Thandi said a word people don't say in front of posters. Boosie put both palms on the parapet and did not move. Because earth breaks in place. Sifo knelt, hands open, because water understands being too late. Yeah. Kumalo put one hand on the back of the sun boy's neck and the other on the moon boy's shoulder and pressed. Firm, like a blessing that doesn't forgive, only acknowledges. You will live with this, she said. That is the price. We will carry you through it. That is the job. She didn't look at me. She didn't have to. The rule grew a new line across all our mouths at once. If it's glass, you don't breathe near edges. If bracelets glow, you separate. If you date for power, you can make a person into rubbish. We filed down the stairs in a new shape. The courtyard had already learned the quiet. 2 staff laid a blanket over the space below the parapet, because sometimes you honor what's gone by, not making people see where it used to be. The board by supper wore 4 lines that tasted like metal. Roof morph. I.O. Glass, Tommy, lost, shattered. Bracelets were glowing, separate on glow, no heroes at edges. Kitchen tamper, fake person, tag moved, attempted kill in compost prevented. Tags don't travel. If a tag sits alone, it's a trap. Rules Council. No to sidelining Esona. Yes to ring-worn sun containment partner. If you make a person into rubbish, we will still try to save who's left. We will also remember what you did. Naledi read the board without changing her face. Her hand trembled a fraction when she reached for her water. She hid it by tucking hair behind her ear. She looked at me like a held breath. She looked at Kwanda like a history she still owned. He didn't look at anyone. He washed his hands for too long at the dining hall basin. The cut on his knuckle opened again. He let it bleed like paying a small tax. Back in the corridor, a new notice glowed under the glass. Ine. Paid containment practicum 8 o'clock tomorrow. Witness Menthembu Esona. Sun containment. Zulu Kwanda. Boosie touched my shoulder. Permission asked, permission granted. Sleep, she said. It does not help, but it makes tomorrow less stupid. Thandi hugged me quick and rude. Sifo put a sugar packet in my pocket like a charm. We all laughed once because grief and sugar have always been cousins. At 2:02, the ledger turned a page and said, a name for a crossing, with a new edge on the word crossing. I turned my face to the door and kept the chair in the gap. Sometimes all you have is wood where a mouth wants to be. The knight took that offering and lay down where it belonged. Part 3. The bright room had the weather of a theater that refuses to be a stage. Iron square on the table. Brass ring on the floor. 7B in the cabinet, sealed and staying that way. A training case sat in its place. Numbered seal, fresh wax, witness ledger open to a blank line. Walk it, Kumalo said. Headers only, no stories. Warn before any outside. Sun keeps mug. Begin. We did the boring. Fondi lowered the hum on the portable panel. No song. Sifo smoked low. Boosie counted hinges with her palm. I named the square and the hands. Kwanda stood off my right shoulder, containment partner. Palms open, the bowl of stay ready. Yeah. Boosie read the training seal aloud. 30190, intact. She weighed the box on a spring scale. 4.4 kilos. End. We signed the line. I breathed around the iron string and warned. If I go outside, I'll say it first. Good, Kumalo said. Now open the paper seal only. We are practicing without a room's feelings. Boosie slid a bone-handled knife under the sticker seam and lifted paper without touching wax. Inside, a thin file with headers. Scope, witness procedure, no narrative, no demonstrations, no 7B. I felt it the way teeth feel tinfoil. A string ran from the underside of the lid to the hinge. Hair thin, wrong. It wasn't in the room when we started. Tamper, I said, and didn't move my hands. Everyone's job moved at once. Boosie dusted limestone. The string showed itself in powder. Fondi killed the hum. Sifo pushed a small wind with the smoke so the hair wouldn't fall into the box when cut. Kwanda set a mug against the hinge. A gentle stay for any snap. Yeah. This one's live, Boosie said. The dust along the hair lifted like a bristle and turned its tip toward me. It likes you. Don't like me? I told it, and warned. If it jumps, I'll go outside around the hinge only. Do not go outside, Kumalo said, and her voice closed 3 doors. Earth cuts, sun bowls, water smokes, witness keeps her mouth. Boosie breathed once and snipped inside the dust line. The string sang like a gnat in a bottle and snapped. The recoil hit Kwanda's mug and ran along his radius like a wire dragged by lightning. He didn't flinch. His jaw did. A thin sun crack opened under his skin from wrist to elbow. A bright thread that pulsed once and cooled. Scar, Sifo said soft. I'm aware, Kwanda said, and didn't look at me. We reweighed the box. Still 4.4. Read headers only. Closed. Signed. End. No one bled. That counts as a morning. Who laid it? Fondi asked, eyes on the hinge. The man who likes strings, Kwanda said, and put his palm flat to the table as if he could smooth the day. He didn't say father. He didn't have to. Kumalo logged tamper cut, earth shears, sun bowl, then she looked at me. You did not go outside? I wanted to, I said. Wanting is not training, she said. Good. We came out into a hall that had decided to be cruel in small ways. Someone had taped a flyer to ZZ's crate. Adopt me in bubble letters. A heart drawn with pink pen. Under it, a neat signature. Student welfare. We don't have a student welfare committee. Naledi, Fondi breathed. Or a student who wants to be her, Boosie said, and peeled the flyer off like a leech. Nurse Nandi frowned at the crate latch. Who touched this? The hasp had a smear of clear polish along the pin, the kind Naledi paints on her nails in place of color. The latch looked shut. One bump and it would pop. Noted, Kumalo said, and set the crate behind her desk. You will not die in my office, she told ZZ, and cats understand my. We lasted 2 hours before the building tried a worse idea. Well, the laundry chute mouth on level 2 had been chalked not a mouth in Boosie's ugly block letters. The chalk was gone. Wiped, not cleaned. A sign in nice font had been taped over it. Please keep clear. Sign mouth, Fondi growled. We all said it with her. A prefect from another corridor brought ZZ out for supervised air on a harness. Someone shouted, Rat! down the hall because boys love jokes that turn into funerals. Zizi hissed, slid the harness like silk, and went arrow straight for the one dark hole at the end of a bright hallway. "Ring," I warned, already moving. "Outside in the mouth only." "Hold," Kwanda said, already sliding the invisible saucer under the cat the way he'd done on the roof. Zizi leapt. I pulled the chute outdoors for 10 counts. High, cold sky where metal should be. The cat hit picture darkness and found no gravel, only the idea of falling, which is somehow worse. She skittered at nothing. Kwanda widened his mug a palm width. Her paws landed in stay. Sipho's smoke brushed the body. Boosie chalked not a mouth over the nice sign, scraping the paper until the chalk bit metal again. Duh. On 10, I let the chute be a chute. Zizi's weight hit Kwanda's bowl. He released slow. Thandi slipped the harness back like someone sewing skin. We all stared at the cleaned metal. Chalk dust still lived in the scratches where letters had been. Someone had wiped in a hurry. Kumalo arrived with that knife voice. She put one finger on the tape corner. It stuck to her nail and caught on a flake of clear polish. She didn't smile. She put the tape in an evidence bag and wrote one neat word on the label. Sabotage. Then, Naledi walked into the far end of the corridor the way villains enter in cheap dramas. Calm in uniform, a textbook under her arm. She looked at the chalk, at the cat, at the bag, at me. She didn't speak. She let the air do the talking. Observation, Musa said, coming up behind her with his clipboard like a chaperone that keeps arriving after you've already kissed somebody. He wrote breach in clean capitals and didn't circle it. For once, he knew circling it didn't help. Defense after lunch. The son had the temper of a kid denied a toy. Miss Hadebe drew the word small in the dust with her shoe again and underlined it until the underline looked like a trench. Esona, she said. Edge, stop. I did. The cone skittered the right amount and sat. My jaw hummed from the ring I hadn't needed but had been ready to use. Naledi, she said. Edge, stop. Naledi chose me for her target and said cone to the air, while her eyes told a different story. She pushed clean and then put a sugar grain of spite on the edge. It tried to climb my collarbone like a ribbon that wanted to be a leash. I should have let it land and embarrass her with stillness. I answered reflex, pushed back along the cone's edge with a hair of outside, not opening anything, just thinning the distance between her and the ground. Naledi's foot found a dip that hadn't existed until I invented it. Her ankle went over and she caught with a hiss. She didn't fall. She let the pain live in her mouth, and not on her face. Queens practice that. Bench, Hadebe said. Both. Musa's pen made a sound like a mosquito. Esona, near fold again. An underline that future meetings love. I sat. My mouth was dry with the taste of almost. The iron string at my throat bit tighter, and when I put my fingers there, I came away with a thin welt, a line that would be a scar if I insisted on being a door again. Across the court, Kwanda lifted his forearm and flexed his hand once. The bright thread under his skin, the sun crack from the string snap, answered and cooled. We looked at each other because pain looks at pain. He crossed the court without hurrying and set the brass ring between Naledi and me. He wasn't talking to us. He was reminding the room. Containment rule, he said for the class. She warns. I bowl. You don't dare her into mistakes. Who is she? Naledi asked, sweet as varnish. Anyone who can unname you out of a soup, he said, not changing his face. Kids who had almost been soup nodded without meaning to. Miss Hadebe breathed out through her nose like a bull remembering why it married a field. Reset, she said. New pairs. Thandi squared up with Musa and smiled teeth. Boosie faced a boy who had never cut his nails straight in his life and still thought he could grip a hinge. I took a cone and treated it like a baby that bites. We got through class. The sky did not fall. The ledger did not speak where a mic could hear it. Dusk. The friend group at the steps. Zizi asleep in her crate behind Kumalo's desk. Tobogo human, shivering, alive. The roofline quiet like it knew how to behave in public. The kitchen posters already greasy in that way the best rules get. Your throat, Sifo said. I touched the line. It's nothing. It's a price, Busi said. Don't pay the wrong cashier. Thandi tilted her head. And your arm, she told Kwanda. Nothing. He flexed again. The bright crack under skin lit, dimmed. Not nothing. He looked at me, not like a boy who wanted to win a hallway, but like a person who had decided to keep a day from killing other people and chose an enemy that wouldn't flirt back. Tomorrow, he said, meaning practicum. Warn, I'll bowl. We keep it small. We go home bored. Deal, I said. Say it, he said. I warn, you bowl. We go home bored, I said. I didn't smile. He didn't either. The word home walked between us and looked around like maybe it had somewhere to sit. Kumalo stepped out and handed me a folded slip. 8 o'clock, practicum, witness. Another for him. 8 o'clock, practicum, son. Her mouth softened one atom. Bring a jacket, she said. Bright rooms are cold. We turned to go in. Under my door, a matchbox waited where matchboxes always wait in stories. Inside, a green bead and a hair-thin string knot glued into the corner like a spider's idea. Open? The scrap said again. I shut the lid, put the box high, left the chair in my doorway, and slept with my face toward the hall. The bracelet 2 doors down glowed yellow once and cooled as 2 people remembered to be magnets the other way. A cat dreamed of roofs. A boy dreamed of knives being kind. A ledger turned a page. In my sleep, I counted to 10 and then stopped. Because stopping is how we live when rooms want us to be more interesting than we need to be. Part 4. The bright room knows how to look innocent. Iron Square, ledger pretending to nap. Training case where 7B isn't. The air felt like a clean shirt. Same procedure, Kumalo said. Headers only. Warn before outside. Sun keeps mug. Begin. Busi read the seal. 30191. Intact. She weighed the case. 4.4 kilos. End. We signed the line. Thandi lowered the hum. No song. Sifo laid smoke like a tablecloth. Kwanda stood off my shoulder, palms open, bowl of stay ready. Open paper only, Kumalo said. Busi teased the sticker seam up with the bone knife. Inside, a thin file. Scope, witness drill. No narrative. No 7B. And a narrow steel weight to check scales hadn't lied. Reweigh, Busi said. 4.4. End. We should have closed. The room wanted us to feel safe first. I felt it as a taste in my filling. A string crooking toward the wax edge of the real seal we hadn't touched. Fine as breath. Wrong as debt. Tamper moving, I said. Toward wax. Dust it, Kumalo said. Busi crushed limestone. The hair lit up in white, a fishbone easing itself back into a throat. It borrowed my name to make the pull stick. The iron under my collar bit. A thin welt flared. Warn, I said, scalded with wanting to be clever. If it jumps, I'll go outside. Hinge only. No outside, Kumalo cut. Earth cuts, sun bowls, witness keeps her mouth, water smokes, moon quiet. Thandi killed the hum until the panel looked ashamed. Sifo drifted smoke between hair and wax so no flake fell in. Kwanda slid a mug under the string's throat. Pressure without crush. Busi put the shears inside the dust line and clipped. The hair sang. The mean fly bottle note. And snapped. The recoil struck the mug and ran up Kwanda's radius like a live wire. The bright sun crack under his skin flashed from wrist to elbow. He didn't grunt. His jaw did. The crack stayed. Not pain, not performance evidence. The cut strand whipped and nicked my throat where the iron lay. The welt felt deepened, a quiet brand. Seal untouched, Boosie said, voice steady. Weight constant. End. We close, signed, end. Kumalo wrote it in the ledger margin. Live string retie cut. Earth shears sun bowl witness silent. Then softer, almost to herself. He wants you both marked. No one said father, we didn't need to. We walked out and the building tried pettiness. Zizi's crate again. This time the hasp was closed, with a neat smear of clear polish. A tug, and it would have sprung. Kumalo bagged the latch with forceps. If this is a joke, the punchline is expulsion, she said, and carried the crate behind her desk like a mother with a bad dog in a thunderstorm. Zizi blinked. Cats know ownership when they hear it. No. Who's doing it? Thandi asked. The person who thinks rules are furniture, Boosie said. You move them to see who trips. Naledi passed in perfect uniform with a textbook. The smell of her nail polish ghosted the air by itself. Rude. Defense. The heat had learned pettiness from people. Cones, brass ring. Small underlined in dust. Pairs rotated until impulse made a story. A couple who had been told no. Moon Boy and Earth Girl, lined up in the second row with the look that breaks schools. Their bracelets glowed yellow. They ignored it. Separate, Miss Haddaby said even. They whispered one word between them that wasn't okay. The boy pushed a small, clean shade out from his shoe. Showing off. Just a strip of cool. The girl fed the shade ground without permission. It went wrong the way papers go wrong in wet, edges running. The boy's outline loosened. His cheek went translucent. Teeth bled through like moon behind cloud. Partial phase PP. Shadow only coming. Ring, I said, already throwing my palm down. Witness ring now. Mug, Kwanda said, setting a bowl of stay on the boy's breath, not his face. Stay with your lungs. Boosie chalked a rough circle around shoes. Ugly circles hold. Thandi lowered the panel hum and then hummed one flat counter note under her breath. The breaker hates that, and so do myths. Sifo pushed smoke into the ring, low and soft. I warned with my mouth like a doorbell. Unname inside ring only. Proceed, Kumalo said from somewhere behind my head, which is how you know a school is doing its job. Not shadow, I told the ghosting outline. Person casting shade. Unnaming is a tug through your own bones. My welt burned. Kwanda's crack flared. The outline thickened at the edges like a cup remembering to be a cup. Again, Sifo said steady. Person casting shade, I said. Come back. The boy's face took color, then weight. His lip cracked. Real blood, real pain. The Earth Girl cried once and then stopped because some girls have taught themselves not to waste water. Nah. The PP held at edge. Not cleared, not fatal. The boy shook like he'd been handed back a name he hadn't deserved. Bracelets off them tonight? On us, Miss Haddaby said, and her voice made that a thing. Musa wrote PP averted in large careful capitals and then smaller. Ring present. For once, his pen stood on the right side of a day. Naledi clapped once, quiet, the way you clap at an art film to show you know what restraint is. Containment chic, she said, sweet, and moved on. I breathed around iron until it stopped tasting like a nail. Across the court, Kwanda rolled his forearm. The bright crack cooled. We did not look at one another like a prize. We looked like a job. Dusk. Staff room again. Evidence bag with clear polish on a strip of tape. Photo of the fake person tag. The brick from the roof. A printout of student welfare that doesn't exist. Naledi, Kumalo said, not a question. Naledi folded her hands. If I wanted to harm a cat, I'd do it where you couldn't prove it, she said. If I wanted to humiliate Esona, I'd do it in public. She studied her own nails. Clear, shiny. Kumalo's mouth didn't move. "Your prefectship is suspended," she said. "You will not supervise drills. You will report to Busi for service shifts on doors and drains. You will not be alone in the laundry, the kitchen, or near Zizi. If you argue, I add bracelets." Naledi nodded once, queen to queen. "Of course," she said, and stood. The little smile on her face was not about winning. It was about waiting. "Musa?" Kumalo asked. "Logged," he said, and for once didn't look happy about it. As people filed, Naledi paused in the doorway by me. "You think you're careful," she said, almost kindly. "You're a medium. You're a hole with manners. That boy." Her eyes flicked to Kwanda Love's holes. "He thinks they're mountains. I didn't rise. There are some lines you don't step off. I'm a person. You keep forgetting." She smiled wider. "So does he." She left. The evidence bag looked smaller after she was gone, which is the thing about girls like Naledi. The mess is bigger than the proof. Tat. Night came in tight. The morph siren stayed quiet. The bracelets bloomed and cooled once 3 doors down, and then remembered magnets have rules. On the board, Kumalo wrote the day in sentences that didn't blink. Bright room. Live retie on seal. Cut. Weights match. No outside. Kitchen. Tag travel trap. Forged chalk found. Compost attempt blocked. Not a mouth on bins shoots. Roof. I.O. Glass loss. No edges. Separate on glow. A. Defense. PP averted. Ring present. Unname inside. Ring only. Discipline Naledi. Prefectship suspended. Service shifts. Doors. Drains. No unsupervised animal/kitchen/laundry. Ain't. Containment pair. Mthembu Zulu. Worn bowl. C. Boring. Both marked. Iron welt. Sun crack. At the very bottom, in her small hand. If you think the rule is furniture, you will trip. If you think the rule is a mouth, you will be eaten. The rule is a tool. Use it. We walked back to the residence under a sky rehearsing a tantrum. Out east, the ridge had a twist in it. The kind of coil that says Inkanyamba is practicing shapes. A spark skipped from cloud to cloud like a bird. Impundalu scouting. The drain by the steps sweated one green bead and then stopped, embarrassed by its own honesty. "You see it," Busi said. "I feel it," I said, and touched the line at my throat. It hummed like a power line in winter. Across from me, the thin, bright crack on Kwanda's forearm pulsed once and cooled. He rolled his wrist and made a face you only make at family. "Tomorrow," he said. "Warn, I bowl. We go home bored." "Tomorrow," I said. We didn't touch. We stood like 2 posts holding up a piece of weather and not asking it to love us. At 2:40, the ledger turned its page in the quiet and said, not in my father's voice, not in Kwanda's father's voice, but in a third voice we hadn't earned the right to hear yet. A name for a crossing. The word crossing scuffed the floor like a chair pulled out by someone you couldn't see. The wind on the ridge answered with a low spiral. The first drops stitched the roof in a pattern we were going to have to learn. Somewhere below, a drone tested its rotors. Somewhere above, a bird made of lightning said huh to itself and banked. We put chairs in our doorways. We slept facing the hall. Zizi dreamed behind a desk that would not abandon her. Tobogo dreamed in a bed that forgave him for being soup. Naledi dreamed the way queens do, standing up. The school turned its face toward the weather like a boxer touching his mouthguard and nodded once. Part 5. The day after a death makes clean things look guilty. The kitchen scrubbed its boards until the grain showed bone. The person. Boxes were ticked on onions, on cabbages, on lemons, because fear does not care for taxonomy. Moon scanned crates like a customs officer at a border that keeps moving. Busi chalk tani. Not a mouth on the scullery floor drain 3 times, because the first 2 felt like hope, and the third felt like a doorstop. At 9:10, The morph siren chirped twice from the courtyard, the AA signal. The one that says run, but be gentle. We ran. On the grass under the fig sat a hyrax, dassy, plump, terrified, tailless, vibrating. A bright orange person tag hung from a quick cord collar crooked around its neck. The tag read senile in a careful hand that had been shaking. Bracelet glow? Kumalo asked the circle of guilty friends. Yellow, a girl said, face blotched, mascara going to confession. We separated. We did he still, he... She made a small noise like a ladder left out in rain. Small circle, shade, Boosie said, already chalking a ring that made the Dassie's paws think rock. Smoke, Sifo said. Low, soft, not to put the animal to sleep, just to remind the air that panic doesn't have to be a food group. Bowl of stay, Kwanda said, setting his palm on grass near the ring, mug-sized, not over the animal, beside it, to make a shallow dish of don't that paws could step into without being taught. I crouched, pinched the iron string between teeth and tongue, warned. Unname only if ring holds, I said, for the room and for my own throat. Proceed, Kumalo said, feet planted, not a hint of drama. Not Dasi, I told the shape. Person wearing fur, person who knows their name. The hyrax shivered and looked at me with a gaze that had too much in it to be just animal. The ring held. Smoke laid comfort. The mug gave a path. The fur rippled in reverse. A boy lay on the grass all at once, chest hammering, crying in that relieved, ugly way boys do. We wrapped him. We didn't clap. We wrote Sanelli. AA reset successful on the board and moved the chalk forward, not the gossip. In the scullery, a bar of soap sat in a wire dish by the sink with a person tag and a sloppy chalk scrawl, Lindy Way. A kitchen auntie had caught herself reaching with a peeler for a lemon and seen the tag in time. She had slapped her own hand away and put the peeler down and said a word to God that she would not say in a church. Great, Boosie said. No water, no heat. Not soap. I told it inside a ring, only enough to weight the meaning without yanking it off. Person, wait, we'll bring you back soon. You can hear relief in a bar. It sounds like a slip, then a rest. We wrote Lindiwi. I.O. stable, ring reset 19 o'clock on the wall under the tomato rule, and someone added in marker the soap rule. No untagged bars. Everyone pretended not to see who wrote it, Thandi, and who underlined it, Kumalo. By noon, registry looked like a hospital chart. ZZ AA collar, box by office. Tobogo I.O. human resting. Sanelli AA reversed. Lindiwi I.O. contained. A thin red line under Tommy I.O. lost. Someone had drawn a tiny glass bottle next to his name and set a chalk stone beneath it. The world did not shake. It held still for a boy who had become sand. The friend group had our first fight in public the way families do when they forget the room has ears. Small, Boosie said, measuring my throat welt with her eyes the way earth measures cracks in a wall. I was, I said. You were almost, she said. You put outside under a bed last night without warning, Thandi said, jaw forward. I warned in my head, I said. Your head isn't a ring, Sifo said. No heat, and that was worse. My mouth went tight. I said warn this morning. You said it after your jaw was already iron, Boosie said. We're going to lose you to the room if you don't like us more than you like being good at it. That found the bone and throbbed. I like you more, I said. The iron under my collar warmed, ashamed to be caught trying to own me. Kwanda stood with his back to the brick, watching the board, saying nothing. It would have been easier if he'd mocked. He didn't. He drank water like he'd chosen to not have an opinion that could hurt anyone today. At the edge of the quad, Naledi sat with 4 sun kids and a moon boy, hovering, populist, perfectly turned out. Her ankle bruised purple under sheer stockings, strategic. She made the big eyes at the Tommy line that say how tragic, and the small mouth that says remember who told you about them first. She caught my eye, then looked down at her phone and typed. Thumbs precise. 3 prefix phones buzzed in a chorus you could pretend was bees. What now? Thandi muttered. In new committee, Boosie said, dry. Student welfare, constitution written in clear nail polish. Sifo blew smoke into cupped hands and let it go. It won't matter, he said. Only the kitchen matters. Only half a joke. Second bell combat. The sky had dragged a shirt of cloud on, the color you see in breath on a window on a taxi at dawn. Nino? Miss Hattaby laid out 4 cones and the brass ring and planted us like seedlings. The partial phase we saw today wasn't a trick, she said. It was a debt. Your bodies borrow without asking when your mouths do not speak. You will not go looking for that lesson. If it comes, you will call a ring, and you will not be clever to impress anyone. She scanned the row. Mthembu, Nkomo, Bench. I didn't argue. Letha didn't either. His bracelet had stopped glowing. He still wore his shame like a jacket. Dlamini, she said to Thandi. With me, we do flat counter hum for the class. Thandi set her fingers on the practice panel and made the sound rooms hate. A flat under the room's natural pitch. A note that says, you are a box, not a dream. The light steadied. People sighed because a room's mood is a drug, and she had just given us the opposite of a high. Naledi, Miss Hattaby said. Target your cone. Naledi targeted me and said cone anyway. She pushed perfect. I didn't push back. I sat and listened to the way a perfect push is a dare. Behind me, someone's bracelet glowed. 2 kids who can't learn Hope's math. It cooled. They stepped apart. Class ended without anyone becoming glass. It felt like cheating death through boredom, which is the only cheat that pays in a school like ours. 8 sem. At 16:30, the registry alarm chirped once. Crate check. I went to the office with Boosie because Earth will not allow me to be alone in a room where my mouth might want to be the only thing happening. Zizi blinked at us from her box, regal. Lindy Wee, the bar of soap, sat in her crate wrapped in cloth, unglamorous and here. The office window latch had stone dust in it from Boosie's morning trick. The dust was disturbed, a finger's arc drawn through it. Someone tested the latch, Boosie said. The latch passed, I said. Kumalo appeared like gravity appears. Log show Naledi asked for cat therapy sign out 1440, she said, no tone. Sign out denied. You'll call her, Boosie said. I won't, Kumalo said. I am tired of giving girls like her someone to perform to. I will simply be wherever she expects me not to be. I looked at Zizi. The cat looked at me like you look at someone who kept you from doing the stupid thing your body thinks is clever. Thanks, I told her. She yawned like cats yawn when they agree to disagree. Quoi. Dusk leaned its shoulder against the horizon. Wind turned its wrist. Inkanyamba rode a practice spiral over the ridge in charcoal. Out to sea, a bird made of lightning tested the hem of a cloud, and then hid, because day is for preening. Night is for impundulu. Down in the laundry, Boosie found a string laid across the stairs at shin height. Hair thin, wrong, dust clinging to it like commas. She didn't cut it. She ringed it. Chalked arrows on the step. Do not touch. Earth. She sent a photo to Kumalo and one to us. I felt it in my teeth at the same moment Kwanda flexed his forearm and the sun crack answered like a lit fuse cooling. Father, he said without making a sound. The message came to me an hour later, in the ledger's margin, where I don't read. A slip slid under my door. I caught it with my foot before it went any further in. You open. I tie. We saved them the hard way, it said, in a hand like a good schoolboy's and a voice that had been a good man's before a room ate him. I am not your door. I told the floor. Boosie heard me through the wall. Good, she said. Tell him again. We put chairs in our doorways. We leaned our heads on wood. We tried to sleep like people who believe wood trumps string. It does, if you keep adding chalk and wrench and adult to it until the room learns. The ridge breathed. The gutters dared. The night did its job. Part 6. By now the school had learned a new trick. Boring saves. Registry checks? Tick. Kitchen boards chalked? Tick. Laundry grates tagged? Tick. The friend group walked their loop. Drains, doors, vents, beds. We said our little catechism in a row because sometimes the smallest words keep the biggest teeth out of your pockets. At 21:10, the morph siren gave the PP pattern. 3 quick, 1 long. The east wing corridor bent light the wrong way. The air shimmered like hot zinc on a shack roof at noon. 2 students, a moon boy and a water boy, incompatible the wrong way tonight, were halfway through phasing. Skin glassy, bones sketch, voices like crumpled paper. Ring, I called, and we warned together. Boosie chalked a circle around their shoes, ugly and fast. Thandi flattened a hum and then held a counternote under it. Sipho smoked low. Kwanda set mugs at breath level, 1 palm for each, alive to the tiniest change. Inate. Inside ring, Kumalo said from the doorway, the sentence that lets a room collaborate. Not shadow, I told the shape of their outlines. People casting shade, people with names. Names help. Names are nails you can hang a person on when the wind wants to take them. Again, Sipho said. People with names, I said. Come back. The PP stalled, not clearing, not worsening, like a tide that forgot whether it was supposed to be obedient tonight. The moon boy's bracelet had been glowing. It cooled. The water boy's eyes focused for a second and then smeared again. Break the gaze, Boosie said, because sometimes the thing that makes a magic sticky is the way eyes agree. Permission, Kwanda said to me, quick. Yes, I said, quicker. He set 2 fingers on each boy's shoulder. Light, directional, not a hold, just a turn. Gaze broke. Breath remembered. The PP melted back a fraction. I pulled the wrong name off their skin, 1 thin strip at a time. Not glass, not paper, not air, people. The welt at my throat itched like chalk in a cut. The sun crack in Kwanda's arm flashed once the way heat lightning does. There, gone, memory left behind like a warning sign. Again, Sipho said, incrementally, the way he always says it. Never fix, always again. People, I said, come back. The PP held, then seated. Skin to skin, teeth to bone. Color acknowledged itself. The corridor let its shape be normal again, like a window choosing to be a window instead of a prophecy. Bracelets, Miss Hadabe said from behind us, calm. On them, off you. She meant, tonight, these boys don't hold hands with anyone until morning teaches them to be boring. Musa made his note for once without looking at me. PP averted. Ring present, worn heard. Sun turn, not as hold. I forgave his clipboard 1 rung on the ladder it had failed to be last week. We were still writing the line on the board when the laundry alarm hit. A single long note. Tamper. We ran. The string Boosie had ringed on the stairs had moved. Not cut, not painful, clever. It had crept around the ring like a snake avoiding a can, and tied itself to the handrail in a knot that wanted hands. Don't, Boosie said to the building, chalk in hand. She ringed it again, this time with 2 circles, overlapping like a Venn diagram for Eno. I am smarter than rope, she told it, and for once rope knew where it stood in the world. Call Earth Night, Kumalo said. On the radio. All Earth, stairwells. I stood with my jaw aching and my hands at my sides like a woman who has chosen to be boring in public. Kwanda stood beside me with his palm open like a saucer, bowl of stay ready, not touching anything until someone asked him to. Permission? He asked, eyes flicking to my collar, meaning if you seize, If you go outside without warning, may I? Yes, I said, and hated that yes tasted like both safety and surrender. He didn't need to use it. Boosie and the other Earth kids cut the hairline ties. Not shearing them, not yanking them. Snipping them inside limestone dust circles so the backlash hit nobody. The building tried to make noise about it. We did not let it be interesting. Then, we were heading back to the board to write Stair Strings Cut. Earth Night posted when the kitchen radio crackled with a voice no radio carries. A man who had eaten 1,000 bad ideas until only the ideas had a mouth. Boy, it said, not through a speaker, through the wrench that lives on the hook by the pantry door. Tell the hole to open, and I'll put the storm back inside me. Kwanda's shoulders changed shape. No one else heard it the same way. Maybe Zizi did. Her ears flattened in her crate. I didn't answer. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is decline a conversation. Earth, Kumalo said, steady. Hook that wrench with chalk. If the room wants to be a telephone, it can call me. Boosie chalked a ring around the hook. Silence learned not to recruit tools for a while. After midnight, the school tried one more accident. A first-year AA cat bolted from a crate. The harness clip had been filed minutely, not enough to fail until it mattered. The cat slipped like silk and streaked along the corridor, the way Zizi had wanted to. Two boys lunged, heroes who love proof, and one of them yelled, "I've got it," loud enough for a room to invent teeth just to make him humble. "Do not grab," Boosie said, a whip crack. We did it the way we had learned. Chalk fence, mug like a saucer, smoke low. "Here, love," Boosie said, because she never runs out of love, even when she is very done with people. The cat stepped into the maybe of the mug, and then into the yes of her own crate. Sifo closed the door. He wrote, shaking, "AA, return successful." I checked the harness cabinet. A file mark on the clip. Neat, concealable, vicious. "Nullity," Thandi said through her teeth, as if saying a name was a way to blame a mouth without law. Maybe it is. Kumalo took the clip to the staff room, put it in a bag, wrote evidence big, and then, underneath, small. No more Provoking God University. She wrote a memo right there. All animal handlers. Double lock second lead. We posted it. We carried on. We did not make it a scene. At 4 o'clock, we sat in the passage with backs to walls and breathed like a choir that had forgotten most of the words but still knew the hum. The friend group leaned on each other with permission and without performance. "Tomorrow," Kwanda said eventually. "Practicum," I finished. "Warn," he said. "I warn," I said. "You bowl. We go home bored." His mouth twitched. The sun crack in his arm pulsed once, then cooled. The iron welt at my throat stopped feeling like a brand and started feeling like a seam I could live with. "Read. You're a hole with rules," he said. "Honest, rude, not unkind." "You're a wall that won't pretend to be a door," I said back, and we both let it stand because compliments in this place have to wear shoes. Boosie yawned. "My rule," she said, "is beds." She gathered us with a look. "Go. Put chairs in the thresholds. Sleep facing the hall. If a bead rolls to your foot, you put it on a shelf and do not flirt with it. If a knife looks at you, you look back and tell it no." "Present used as medicine," Sifo said, tapping one of the mugs like a bell. Thandi stuck no singing on the panel again with 2 more strips of tape, because some rules learn by gravity and some by glue. On the board at dawn, Kumalo's hand wrote the day into a spine. Registry Senili AA reset Lindiwi IO contained reset 19 o'clock. AA escape attempt contained double lock protocol. East wing, PP averted, ring present, sun turn, not hold, unname inside ring only. Stair tamper, strings cut, earth night posted, do not touch hairlines, fetch earth flat water. Kitchen scullery, not a mouth on bins. Soap rule added. Forged tag protocol posted. Discipline. Prefectship suspended. Nullity. Evidence logged. Clear polish, tag travel, filed clip. Containment pair. Memthimbu Zulu Warren/Bowl/Boring. Both marked, both compliant. And at the bottom, if the room tempts you to be interesting, remember Tommy. Be boring. Go home alive. Outside, the ridge coiled in a way that meant storm with a capital letter. On the water, a bird made of lightning practiced the shape of yes. In the gutters, something short and old and hungry tested a chalk line with one toenail and withdrew it. Burned. The bright room waited with clean light and a seal that looked like a mouth if you stared long enough and forgot you were a person. We didn't forget. We slept 3 hours and woke up angry and competent. We dressed warm. We put chalk in our pockets. We put our mouths in our throats where they belong. We went to work.